Heya, welcome back to another video. Hope you're keeping well. So today I'm going to be talking you through all the books that I'm planning to read over the winter period. And though I do have a good mix of genre and I don't think I'll be getting bored with anything that I'm going to be picking up over the next month or two, I do feel like I haven't really gravitated towards anything particularly wintry. So feel free to recommend some quintessential winter reads down below if you feel like it's something that I'm going to be interested in or if it's something that you particularly want to hear my thoughts on. So anyway, let's get on with the video. So the first book I want to talk about is Tampa by Alyssa Nutting. So this book has been recommended to me multiple times, and usually when I'm discussing disturbing books, and I think people are surprised that I still haven't read this yet, considering the subject matter is stereotypically disturbing. It's about a young woman who's married, but it seems like she's in a bit of a loveless marriage because I believe her husband's like an alcoholic. He's working and all that, but like, I don't know. Anyway, she ends up starting a new job as a teacher. I don't know if it's like they've just moved to this town or maybe she's just gotten her degree and she's just starting out her career or something like that. Anyway, she takes a bit too much of an interest in one of her students who is a 14-year-old boy, and she ends up starting to stalk him and wanting to pursue some sort of, relationship with him. So I remember like when this came out, a few people were talking about it, but I can't really remember anyone's like general thoughts on this and just the reaction to it at the time. But I'm interested to see how I'm going to feel about it, because even though I said like I don't feel like I've picked out any sort of wintry books, I usually gravitate towards like depressing disturbing books in the winter period. Like for some reason I always generally pick up like something by Hubert Selby Jr. over like December or January, because I'm like, yeah, the January blues aren't already doing it enough for me. I need to like really, stick the knife in. But yeah, I'm interested. If you've read this, let me know. And, I feel like so many people are going to be like, that was the most disgusting book I've ever read. But, we're into that kind of thing over here. Next is Imperial Bedrooms by Bret Easton Ellis. So he is one of my all-time favorite authors. And it's been a really long time since I've read any of his books. Like, I feel like it might have been like 2 or 3 years ago is when I read Rules of Attraction. I think that's the last one of his that I read. But he's an author that I want to complete and read all his works one day. So I'm pretty sure I haven't read Imperial Bedrooms. My brain kind of thinks that I have, just because all of these covers look so similar to each other. So my brain's naturally like, when I saw this in chapters, I was like, you've read that? And I was like, I don't think I have. My brain's like, you've definitely read that. I don't think I have. So this is a sequel to Less Than Zero. I'm not sure how many years it takes place after we leave the characters in Less Than Zero, but it sounds like maybe it's like 20 years down the line or so. I think all the characters are around middle age, 40 to 50 or so. And it's basically about Clay being a successful screenwriter and ending up having to go back to LA, where he meets up with all the people who were in Less Than Zero and kind of, catching up with them and all that kind of thing. So I'm interested to see where those characters are now. I really, really enjoyed Less Than Zero. It's definitely one of my favorite books that I've ever read. There's something about the interaction between the characters that just made my brain feel good. And it's something that I tend to look for in other books that are similar in style. I don't know, there's something about that. It just kind of tends to focus more on the characters than on the actual plot, which sometimes that's kind of nice, Sometimes books don't have to be like really plot driven or anything like that. Another book that I'm really excited to read this winter is Dune Messiah. So I have a tendency to start series and never finish them, and I think that might be one of my goals for next year, is to finish or at least catch up on a few series that I've started over the last couple of years. Dune Messiah is the second book in the Dune series. I know that people are going absolutely mental for Dune at the moment on BookTube because of the movie, and they want to do the book to movie comparison and yada yada yada. But I read Dune about 2 years ago, and it was something that I really procrastinated on because I just felt like I was never going to be able to understand what was happening yet, that the lore and the terminology was just going to go over my head, and that I just felt really intimidated to pick it up. And then I got it for either Christmas or my birthday and like flew through it. It was an absolute binge read. I loved it. And then I was really annoyed at myself that I took so long to actually pick it up. So I'm going to slowly but surely start getting through the series, and I'm looking forward to this because it takes place 12 years after the events in the first book. Apparently there's some sort of major war going on, and things just aren't going particularly well for old Paul. So Like I said, I'm just really excited to get on with it. And this is quite small as well. It shouldn't take me too long to get through it. I still have to actually watch the Dune film. I still haven't gone to the cinema to see it. To be fair, like I don't necessarily want to go to the cinema while I'm still a bit sick. And I feel like cinemas are already like, you know, pre everything that's happening at the moment. Cinemas have always been kind of germy. So I'm a bit iffy about going, but I will. I've wanted to see this film for such a long time. So, and now for another sci-fi one. It is Neuromancer by William Gibson. So I've been meaning to read this for quite some time. Like the cover is always like drawn my attention, and I know it's a series as well. You see, look at me picking up another series when I already have stuff on the go. But anyway, I don't know. Maybe it's possible that this could be read as a standalone. At least that's what I'm kind of sort of hoping. But anyway. So all I know about this is that it's set in a dystopian Japan, and that it's about I don't know if it's like a person or if they're like an android or something. They're basically a hacker who end up getting in trouble for, I suppose, hacking the wrong person or whatever. I feel like people who have read this, who are watching this, are just screaming at their screens right now because I'm doing such a poor job at trying to summarize this book that I haven't read. But I'm sorry. I hate doing TBRs. I hate talking about books that I haven't read yet. But yeah, basically it's about a hacker who ends up getting in trouble. He's punished by not being able to access like the cyber space, the matrix basically. I feel like that child who didn't read the book who then has to get up in front of the class and like do the book review, and you're just like, and things happen. And also stuff. But yeah, like I said, it's one of those kind of cyberpunky novels that I should probably really enjoy. I'm interested to read another sci-fi classic. You're probably going to be wondering, like, why? Why? But do you know what? It's because Chapters was having a massive sale, because they're closing down, like I've already said. It's my favourite bookstore, and this series has been one that interested me because it seems to be such a polarizing series. It's like people either love it or they hate it. I'm not, like I said, I'm not like a huge fantasy fan. Like I read, I've been reading through The Lord of the Rings again, but I'm reading The Witcher. But aside from that, I haven't really, immersed myself in the genre, in the classics and all that kind of thing. So I thought, you know what? Let's just do it and let's just go for it. And, if I hate it, I hate it. And if I like it, well, then I've got like a million books to read through that are all fairly chunky. It's The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. I basically have absolutely no idea what this is about. One of the reasons why is because I kind of refuse to Google it. Because now that there's the Amazon show, I just feel like, and I don't know if the Amazon show is weekly, I don't know if it's like all up there at the moment, but I feel like if I just Google it, there's going to be some form of spoiler or whatever. I have a general understanding of at least the pacing of the series. Like I know that people find it a bit repetitive. People find that there's a lot of like, we're going on a quest, we're going to do the thing, and there's a lot of going to places and maybe a bit of back and forth or so. That's literally all I know. I have no idea what the Wheel of Time means. There's this really vague synopsis on the back of this, and I'm like, I can't make head or tail of that. I don't know what any of this means. I suppose I'm just going to have to read it, and it is a big one, but it seems doable. Like the font is nice and big. And now to get into what you've probably been waiting for from me, a little bit of horror. So I'm going to be reading Dreamcatcher by Stephen King. I want to read, I don't know, this probably sounds really stupid, but lesser known Stephen King novels, in the sense of like, I don't want to read like the top 10 most popular Stephen King novels, because I feel like, okay, I've read, a good few of his popular ones, but I want to go into like the back catalogue. And it is hard to do with him because like most of his books have been like adapted into like films or TV shows or whatever, so there's no such thing as really like the unknown Stephen King novel. But I do remember seeing part of this film when I was younger, and I was just absolutely captivated by the butthole monster. So yeah, literally the only reason why I picked this up, I have been doing a bit of research into horror novels about aliens, about alien invasion. I'm all about the greys, as you know, so I thought I don't think I've read any King alien related novels, so I might as well go with this because, like I said, that butthole monster was really something. Then I'm going to be reading some more kind of contemporary horror. This is Hex by, I'm so sorry if I butcher this, but I'm going to say it as fast as possible so no one will pick up on it, Thomas Oldhoyvelt. And this is the story of like a 17th century witch who was killed in this town, who then is still haunting the town. And basically the town has like quarantined themselves and gone into some form of like lockdown because I guess this witch is like, you know, she's not in the best of humor and she's had her mouth sewn shut and her eyes sewn shut. And then if her eyes end up opening, all hell's going to break loose. So it's about a group of teenagers who are like fed up with the conditions that they've been living in and the restrictions and stuff. And they decide to take matters into their own hand. And I'm assuming things just don't go particularly well for them, because when do things go well for teenagers in horror settings ever? A few people recommended this to me when I talked about the fact that I'm really into witches and, you know, like if I'm going to read horror, then I want to read kind of like, you know, spooky things. And I always found the idea of a witch, like of an evil witch, to be quite, you know, gooky. So if anyone has any more sort of witch related horror stories to recommend, feel free to do so. And then finally, the last book in this TBR is In the Glass Darkly by Sheridan Le Fanu. So this is 5 short stories and they're all gothic horror. This includes Carmilla. So everyone who's been telling me to read Carmilla, it's gonna be read. This also has Green Tea and a few of his other popular short stories. So I read Uncle Silas there like a month or 2 ago. And I really, really enjoyed it. I really like his writing style. I like the atmosphere that he creates in his novels and, or novel, because I've only read the one. Again, I usually gravitate towards kind of, you know, darker, somber sort of stories in the winter time. So I feel like this is going to be perfect to read over December or January. So that has been my winter TBR. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what you'll be reading yourself over the winter period. And if you have any sort of quintessential wintry reads, feel free to recommend them, or any sort of spooky reads that you think that I'd be interested in reading, let me know. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you soon. Goodbye.